It's Wellness Nerd Out time! How you guys doing today? Happy Wellness Nerd Out time, you guys. And today we are going to be talking about some postural and proprioceptive consequences of duck feet. When people walk like this, it could either be 1 foot, it could be 2 feet. In my experience, actually, I can well relate to this because throughout my life, I've had a foot that sits like this, my right foot, right? And so I've suffered all these consequences, as it is a domino effect coming up from the foot, through the ankle, through the knees, to the hips, to the spine, right? So I make a strong effort to try to keep my foot like that. I've done exercises to help it. I've done the best I could, but this has affected me, and if it's affected any of you, let's talk about what is going on with duck feet, all right? So when your foot sits out like this, and you're walking, now what happens? Well, your body is very smart, and it's not going to let you fall down, right? So if your foot was arched up like this, like you were bad, you would have no balance, right? You'd be walking all weird. So what it does to naturally compensate for that is it pronates the foot, and you get this hyperpronation of the foot coming in like that, right? It would be like this, right? And so, hey, take it easy. Hey, take it easy. They're excited about duck feet. So you get this hyperpronation, and now your foot is sitting like that, and you're putting all this weight down here, right? Because the pillar of your heel that your body is bearing all your weight on, right? Hey, take it easy. Go. As much as I love them, we can't have it right now. So now it's compensating with this hyperpronated foot. So now what happens is your foot becomes flatter. It becomes flatter. The arch decreases the more your foot is pronated, right? And so now you have these flatter and flatter and flatter feet over time, and that means that the intrinsic muscles in your foot are not working as hard, right? They kind of get some time off. And this, of course, will have an inverse effect on the extrinsic muscles of the foot, muscles that originate outside the foot and then insert onto the foot, right? And in particular, the tibialis anterior, for example, or the extensor hallucis longus, we could say, right? We're talking about the big toe when we say hallucis. So these muscles are up here, in the shin area, right? So we have this hyperpronated foot, and our intrinsic muscles are taking time off, and now you have this compensation by your body in your shin bones, in your tibia and fibula, right? By internally rotating them. So they internally rotate, all right, to keep this force uniformly going down vertically, right, to keep you stable. And so, when you're doing something like that, other things are going to be working overtime. And what's working overtime are those extrinsic muscles of the foot, like we just said, the tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, for example, right? And so they get really tight, and you can get overuse injuries in those muscles around the shin as a result, right? Now, if you have these flat feet, you can't absorb shock as well when you're walking, right? Because that arch, naturally you're walking, it'll zoom, zoom, zoom. But if you're starting like this, now it's harder for you to absorb that shock, right? When you're running, walking, squatting, things like that. And so this translates further proximally now when we look at the knee, and the knee will then become valgus. And so you have this knee sticking in like that, right? So everything's trying to balance out to keep the force vertical and stable, right, in your body, and to bear the weight properly. And so now, as your shin bones, or we said the tibia and fibula, right, they internally rotate. Well, what happens is you get external rotation of the femur now, of your thigh bone. And this externally rotates, and what happens now is instead of using your glutes, instead of activating your glutes, we activate these deep external rotators of the hip, all right? Excuse me, we're talking like, the obturator, internus, externus, things like that, superior, inferior gemellus. We're talking about the piriformis, a lot of you know, because the sciatic nerve pierces it, right? We do piriformis stretches a lot when we have sciatica. But now they're working hard, right? And your glutes are not working as much. And so this, what it does is it anteriorly rotates your hips, right? And then you get, as a result, low back pain from that. So it goes all the way from the foot up to the low back, right? Everything is a domino effect, all right? And your body's very smart, and it will adapt to chronic conditions to make sure that you can function to your best ability every day. Now, when we talk about the foot, well, let's also talk about the ankle here, all right? Because, these intrinsic muscles of the foot, we said, they're not working as hard, right? And so we don't have as much support, proprioceptive communication, we could say, between the ankle, between the intrinsic muscles of the foot, providing stability and balance for the ankle and the brain, right? So we're not getting that proprioceptive communication, that proper communication. And so this increases your risk of sprained ankles, of injuring the ankles, right? Again, that proprioception, right? When you're stepping, you're not looking, and it doesn't communicate properly. Well, of course, it makes sense that what would control the stability subconsciously if, you're messing around with it, because you have this domino effect from a hyperpronated foot going up through the ankle to the knees and things like that. Your intrinsic muscles are weak, right? Now you have a higher risk for injury. So it's in the ankle. So, higher risk of overuse injuries of those shin muscles around the shin, right? It could be tender. They say a lot if you run your fingers up and down your shin, the inside of it, especially the medial portion, we could say. And again, you're going to have that low back pain and increased risk of injury at the ankle, right? So not good stuff, all right? Tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some remedies, some exercises, things like that. We'll finish up our discussion on the anatomy and everything that's going on, all our players here with duck feet, and then we'll get into pigeon-toed walking the next day. All right. What else did we want to say here? So that's about it, I believe. Yeah, that's about it. Who do we got? Let's say hi to the homies. Who do we got on here? G Cruz, how you doing? Hey, Kip. What's up, Kippy? How are you, brother? Good to see you on here, my man. Hey, I hope you're doing great. So, again, even before we talk about, exercises to correct it, well, just make an effort to, keep that foot pointed forward when you're walking, as uncomfortable as it might feel. Like for me, it feels natural to just leave it out here, but I can't let that happen. You got to be conscious of it. Just like during the day, you walk around with rolled shoulders, you got to make a conscious effort to pin the shoulder blades together, to stand up tall, right? And it's going to feel weird at first, but these little things over time that your body has to experience every day will strengthen those muscles, right? And it will allow you to correct it more so without even doing other exercises. But, we would want to do exercises, of course, right? So thank you guys very much. Have a great rest of your night. That's what we got for you for duck feet. And again, we'll finish our discussion on duck feet tomorrow. As for now, you enjoy tonight, and we'll see you then. Not sure where, not sure when, but we'll be hanging out because we do this every day. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Oh, we're still here. It didn't go off. Give me 1 second. We're back. Sorry about that. So one other thing I wanted to say before we go is when we talk about these flat feet, right, with the hyperpronation because we have duck feet, another thing is when they're so flat, and these intrinsic muscles of the foot aren't working as hard to maintain that arch, right? Well, we of course are then stretching out the bottom of our foot. It's going like this. So what's going to happen? That means the plantar fascia going from the heel to the more distal portion of the foot, right, is going to get stretched out. And this could lead to things like plantar fasciitis. All right, so just wanted to finish up with that. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you so much.